Hello! Today we are drawing Superman. Yeah, I think you can see it. And by today I mean the other day we drew him already. This is just the commentation thing, so. Also, if I start sweating, that's only because it's 4 million degrees in here. I'm in the dorm, and the AC is really bad. So for my little Superman piece, I decided to make the canvas 320 by 180, which was just a good size for scalability up to 1920 by 1080, I think is the YouTube video thing. I don't know, I think it's exactly 1/6 of that scale. So that's just the reason I chose to go with that canvas size. My actual Superman, though, I fit within a 64 by 64 bit area. Normally I do 32 by 32 bit sprites, so this is a little bit bigger than I'm actually used to. But I just kind of wanted more space for the, like, body and the clothing, because I really wanted to show the, like, Superman suit, you know what I mean? Like, I could have just gone with, like, the big head and, like, a small body to just kind of show off part of the suit, but I really wanted to show, like, a decent amount of detail in the suit and, like, a decent amount of coloring and that kind of thing. So I just went a little bit bigger this time. The first thing I did was just block out the sprite, just the head and the body, the arms and legs, that kind of thing. Trying to find a pose that I liked. It didn't take too long. I kind of just went for the, like, simple, just, like, the legs, kind of like the, I don't know how to explain it, where it's, like, one leg's, like, I guess you can see it on the screen. One leg's, like, bent towards the other leg, because he's in flight, right? So it doesn't need both to stand, just one down. I started blocking out colors. I don't actually stick with these colors, I don't think. I was looking for a different palette there, but I ended up just going with the same palette. But I do fix the, color of the suit eventually. But yeah, I go for some eyes here. Looks like I just kind of block out some areas for that. Actually, for these, like, big, kind of goofy, cartoon-looking eyes, I just liked the idea of, him just looking, like, super happy, you know what I mean? Like, almost, like, cartoonishly happy. So that's kind of why I went with the eyes and face that I did here. The next thing I was trying to nail was the hair style. It's supposed to look exactly like the newest Superman, from, like, Superman Look Up. So I tried to go for the hairstyle that's shown in that movie, with, like, one side being a little bit lower. Usually you have the curl in the center for a lot of the comics, but I kind of tried to stick with the new Superman movie in the spirit of it coming out somewhat recently. Looks like I'm adding shading here. I haven't really shaded my sprites much in the past, but ever since the Stardew Valley video, where I, like, saw how much shading is really in those sprites, I've been adding more and more shading to my characters. I find it's cool to, like, add a little bit of depth and more, I don't know, it looks more, like, professional somehow. I don't know how, I just kind of think it does. So that's part of the shading and shaping I'm doing kind of here, is just trying to make it look like a character that could, like, actually be in a video game of some kind. Almost forgot the ear there. Luckily, I seem to have noticed that. Still working on a little shading, it looks like. Before moving on to the Superman S on the, not the shirt, but I guess the suit? I don't know, the super suit? I think it'd be a super suit. Here I think I'm trying to find different colors, because it was looking a little too dark. It looks more like Man of Steel Superman, Henry Cavill. So I kind of wanted to go a little bit lighter, because I feel like the Henry Cavill Superman is kind of like a darker Superman, you know what I mean? But the newer one is super, like, bright and light and lighthearted and that kind of thing. So I really wanted to kind of capture that lightheartedness in the color scheme as well. I had to look at a reference a lot to get the super suit down kind of the way I wanted it. I find that looking at references for art is always really helpful, but especially when you're looking at, like, smaller details, like the S on the suit, what color the suit should actually be, that kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah, I think I'm actually looking at a reference right now, that's why there's such a long pause right here. I think I'm looking on my phone for references for what the, like, pants and legs should look like. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, so sometimes I just can't remember exactly, like, what a character is supposed to look like, so I gotta look them up. I can't help it. I feel like everyone's gotta do it. It's part of the artistic process. Yeah, I think I was looking for a full body image right now, so I could, like, find the legs. Because a lot of the images I saw were, like, just of the top half of him. So I had to find one that showed, like, what color the legs are, and, what color the belt is, and that kind of thing. Superman's always been one of my favorite characters in, like, superhero media, I guess. I just think it's so cool that he's such a, like, symbol of justice and peace. He's, like, the goodest guy, I guess. I don't know. So I actually had a lot of fun working on this project, especially, like, making the suit. I watched the original cartoon when I was young, like, the OG super old one, where it's, like, the intro is something along the lines of, he's faster than a speeding bullet, he can jump buildings with a single bound, that kind of thing. So it was cool to see a Superman that, like, I could recognize in the movie most recently. And it's cool that, like, when they created that, it seems like they really created it with doing justice to the character in mind, which I think is really, really cool. And that's kind of what inspired me to start working on this Superman drawing here. I had a little bit of trouble shaping out the feet here, trying to get it to look like actual feet and not look like red blobs with little bits of shadow on them. But eventually we got to a place that I thought was somewhat workable, you know what I mean? I don't believe they're perfect, but they look kind of like feet if you squint really hard. I think they look like feet. At least to me they do, which I guess that's good enough for me. I'm adding a bit of shading here, once again, just to provide a little bit more depth, so it makes it a little easier to see what's going on. Once again, I feel like I should have been doing shading the whole time I've been doing pixel art characters. But when you're in, like, 32 by 32 bits, obviously you have enough space for shading, but it's just a little bit harder to fit everything in there. So I felt like with this 64 by 64 bit Superman, I was able to fit more shading in without it feeling, like, a little bit too forced. You know what I mean? I am worried I'm going to eventually move into the habit of over-shading everything, though, just because I like what shading looks like, to the point where it's like, one day I feel like I'm just going to shade the whole thing, and then when everything is shaded, nothing is. For the cape, I moved to a layer lower down on the, like, layer category thing. That way I could draw literally exactly what I wanted the shape of the cape to be like behind Superman. And, then kind of give it details from there. That way I wouldn't have to, like, worry about actually drawing over his legs or over his shoulders or anything. So I pretty much just used a separate layer to draw the cape in, and then merged the two layers together to make it kind of simpler to draw the cape in. I think I end up adding a black outline to Superman here. I'm zoomed really far out, so I actually cannot tell. Oh, there we go. A little bit better. Yeah, a black outline is what I add here. It kind of just helps give the character the right shape that I liked, to make him really stand out against the, I guess the non-existent background at this point, but eventually the background that's going to exist. Next, I was trying to figure out what I wanted the scene to look like. I didn't know if he should just be, like, flying just a little bit off the ground, or if he should be, like, on top of a building, or maybe, like, he's talking to Lois and the building is on the other side and he's just up in the air in the middle of, like, the sky, I guess. If I remember correctly, I think I just come back to it later, and right now I work on, like, a health bar kind of area. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I work on a little health bar area here, just to give it, like, that extra video game feel. So we kind of have a general idea what we are looking at. Sorry. Here I'm looking at reference images for the original Superman comics. I think Superman issue 1 is what I was trying to find. I wanted to make the profile picture type area for Superman kind of look like the original comics Superman, instead of the like kind of chibi, or not chibi, but the one that I drew below. So we kind of have two different versions of Superman here. Interestingly, very little shading in the original Superman comic books. I'm sure I'll put a picture on the screen, but yeah, I was trying to figure out a good way to, like, show that this was Superman without doing any of the shading tricks I had been doing on the other sprite. Just kind of minimalist kind of details that we're looking at here. I never actually read the Superman comics. Like, maybe I'm like a fake fan for that. I feel like I should at some point because I really like the character. So if you have any recommendations for Superman comics I should check out, let me know. I will get right on that. Here, hey, the hair has the curl this time though, where it's like instead of the newer Superman where it's like kind of off to the side a little bit, that's where the curl is. The curl's right in the middle. Oh goodness. I missed the paint bucket tool there for a sec, I think. I actually thought this idea was pretty cool, of using the two separate versions of Superman. I don't know how well I drew the original Superman, but I think it's good enough that you could tell that's Superman, I feel like. If you were just shown a random image of it and they were like, what character is this? You might say Superman, who knows? I tried to stick as true to the comic books as possible, and that kind of led to trying to do a little black outline for this version of Superman as well. But I think I ended up not liking it and removing it because it was a little bit too bulky, if I remember correctly. It was just too much going on, so I felt like I had to remove some of the outline and the black kind of pencil mark areas. I eventually switched to this yellow color because it kind of matched the comic book reference that I was looking at for the original Superman. And also when I did the health bar, I also used yellow to show kind of like rays of the sun. We haven't actually seen that yet though. So I guess that was a little bit of a spoiler. Sorry, fellas. There I tried some shading and then immediately removed it because I realized it wasn't really in line with the version of Superman that I was trying to create. Yeah, I chose the yellow health bar here because I was like, it kind of reminds me of like Superman's power coming from the sun, that kind of thing. So I figured that just made the most sense to have it be yellow instead of red for actual health. Because he's like nearly invincible when he has the power of the sun. So I feel like you can't do a red health bar because he'd always be invincible. You gotta do a yellow one. Here I'm just adding a little bit of white around the black outline to kind of give it a little bit of definition against just the like straight up gold coloring of the background. Nothing crazy, just kind of like a little added detail to make it stand out a little bit and match up with the rest of the health bar. For the next part, I think I go back to trying to figure out the background, or maybe the background comes last. I don't remember now. Ah, no, here we're looking up a reference image, I believe, once again. I decided to make it so Superman is fighting Ultraman from the movie. And to do that, I kind of just cloned the Superman that is currently present, and then reversed him to match up on the other side. That's actually, if you've seen the movie, that makes perfect sense, that method. If you haven't, don't worry about it. You can find out what that means later when you watch the movie. But yeah, I just looked up a reference image of Ultraman and then ended up kind of just coloring the entirety of Superman in the color that I thought matched closest to Ultraman's suit. And that was right before I decided to put all the detailing in for Ultraman. Just to kind of block out where the character was before I actually went ahead and added all the detailing. I tried a couple of different methods for creating the kind of face detailing that Ultraman has. Eventually I landed on something I liked, but I had to start with the glasses, because I kind of wanted to figure out where exactly the glasses would go before I began. After I had the goggles kind of in a position that I liked, I just kind of tried my best to follow the reference image I had of Ultraman. I just kind of Googled Ultraman and was like, which one should I use? Which reference image works best? And I just went with the one that I could kind of see his face best, which ironically I think was the exact same image that I used for the full body picture of Superman, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think that's true. So yeah, just some basic face detailing is what I went with here. Kind of just stuff to make it so it doesn't look so bland with just straight gray all over his face. Looking back, he's kind of giving Spider-Man a little bit. Not like fully, but just like a tad bit, you know what I mean? Next, I drew the U for Ultraman over the Superman S, which I think is the lightest part of the entire sprite, if I remember correctly. Simply because it's like actual metal and it's shiny, compared to just the like utter darkness of the grays. It was kind of nice working off like the template of the sprite I had already created. Maybe that's like self-plagiarism, but I thought it ended up looking pretty good simply because I already had a sprite that looked good. You know what I mean? Or I thought it looked good. I guess I don't know how you guys feel, so who knows? But yeah, pretty much I just added some colors, changed the colors around. I removed the cape eventually. Just did my best to turn Superman into Ultraman. I had to work with a lot more different shades here, though, rather than just, like, the 2 shades for each color on Superman. I had to go with, like, I think 4 or 5 shades of gray to get Ultraman in a position that I liked. It was just kind of strange because his costume doesn't switch colors very much, but there are so many different, like, versions of gray and versions of shadow that I had to find. So it just kind of, it took a couple of minutes to try and get the correct colors in that I actually wanted to go with in the end. I then give him the classic black outline. Looking back, I think it would have been really funny if instead of doing the scene where like he's fighting Ultraman, if it was the scene where he bursts into Lex Luthor's office, like really upset. Superman does, I mean. Minor spoiler alert, by the way. Actually, it's not minor, like pretty big spoiler alert. I just think it'd be kind of silly if it was the part where like Lex Luthor's drinking coffee right in Superman's face. You know what I mean? Like the kind of like classic rage bait. I don't know. Maybe if I draw another version of this, I'll draw that part because that part is hilarious. I had a little bit of highlights to the Ultraman U there just to make the character stand out a little bit from just the pure dark background. Here I decided that the background should actually be just the sky. Since both characters can fly, I figure like I don't need to put the ground in if neither of them are actually standing on the ground, you know what I mean? So I created the sky, then added a couple of clouds here. This cloud creation method where I'd like draw the like circles and then kind of shade them separately and differently and then draw more circles on top. I got this from like an old YouTube video about drawing clouds in Pixelart. I don't remember exactly where it was because it was so long ago. If I find, I'm going to add a link in the description. But yeah, it was just a really old video about how to draw different clouds in Pixelart to make them kind of look different from just the normal classic like the ones in the far background with like the fluffy tops and the flat bottoms, you know what I mean? Here I'm just doing a little bit of dithering to try to create a little bit of extra shading on the clouds. I kind of think dithering you have to use in kind of moderation, because too much dithering kind of makes the piece look a little bit messy, but on clouds I think it looks really nice. Just to give it a little bit of extra shadow, a little bit of extra pizzazz, if you know what I mean. After the first cloud, I decided I need at least one more cloud, because I mean it's still looking really bare back there. So I try to make a cloud that looks a little bit further away on the other side of Superman here. I like how this cloud turns out actually quite a bit better than the other cloud. No offense, other cloud. I just think this one had more going for it. I was warming up with the first one, you know what I mean? But yeah, I decided the double layering tactic kind of works a little bit better on these clouds over here. I end up switching the gray in the background though, I think, because I thought it was a little bit too gray. I thought it should be like a more bluish kind of hue. So I think that happens a little bit later. But for now, I think I just go ahead and shade the top cloud. or I guess the top part of the cloud, in front of the darker part of the cloud. I find that the shading really helps with shape when it comes to clouds, because I mean it's all like white, right? Like most clouds are like 99% white, a little bit of gray unless it's raining. So I feel like when you use the shading like this, you can kind of help create kind of perspective for which part of the cloud you can see and which part of the cloud is like kind of hidden behind other parts of the cloud. I wonder how many times I just said cloud in the past like 5 minutes. It seems like I said it like 14 times. Here I'm adding a little bit of shading to the background of the clouds as well, just to ensure the whole thing kind of has that feeling of depth that I wanted. Here I'm trying to switch the color to a more bluish hue of gray. That way it doesn't feel so I don't know, dark. I just thought it looked really, really dark with the like kind of harder gray color. So I thought blue might kind of make things a little bit nicer here. It doesn't look bad. I actually think that looks pretty good. Next, I think I add a little bit of extra details to the background, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I may... Oh, no, I add the details to the front, that's right. I put some clouds in front of the camera to kind of looks like... almost like we're peeking through the clouds to see this scene of Superman that's going on. And then I work on a little sun to kind of show that, like... that's how Superman's getting his powers, right? Is this sun that's off to the side, or off up in the corner, I guess. Man, my water is hot. Speaking of the sun, if I remember correctly, I actually get the spacing really, really wrong here on this sun, because I could not figure out how wide the center circle was. I mean, obviously it's only 4 pixels wide, you can literally count it from here, but for some reason, in the moment, I was like, I cannot figure out how wide this circle at the center of the sun is. So I think it actually takes me quite a bit of time to realize that the corners, or I guess the edge kind of like shoot-off things of the sun, actually are not lined up even a little bit, because I have them 3 wide, but they only should be 2 wide. You can see, that's the exact moment I realized something's wrong, because I'm like measuring it with the like selection tool. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's right, so I have to move it back. And I'm like, then why does it look so weird? Yeah, I measure it like 3 or 4 times trying to figure out why on earth I can't get it right. Eventually I figured out, it just takes me a little while. Yeah, there we go. That's the exact moment I realized something is wrong with it. It's funny though, because the top and the bottom were correct already. It was just the 2 sides that looked really bizarre. I'm trying to figure out what I'm drawing next, I don't remember. Oh, maybe it's the airplane. I think I draw an airplane next, yeah. I just go for some little background details to kind of make the space feel a little bit more alive. The clouds are cool, but I think we needed a little more than clouds, simply because... I don't know, there was still so much blue, you know what I mean? It's just all the blue everywhere. Here I'm doing a little bit of animations to kind of see what it looks like when they float up and down. It's a little bit fast there, but I think I end up slowing it down off camera afterwards. Now they float together, but I kind of wanted them to float opposite each other, because I kind of felt like they should be like at odds, right? So one should float up while the other floats down, kind of like they're almost battling even in just their idle animation movements. So that's kind of what I went with there. Man, it's really, really fast when it's sped up like this. At the end, I'll show what it looks like not quite so sped up. Here I'm adding some more background details other than the airplane. I kind of wanted, I don't know, I just thought it was too empty, so I added a little bit of a ocean kind of scene here, with a little boat off in the background. It's just a boating day, you know, the sky is clear, Superman's up there, he's about to do battle with Ultraman. But you know, the sky is clear otherwise, so might as well do a little bit of boating. I just copy paste the boat to add a secondary boat in at a different spot. As you can tell, I'm a copy paste believer. I use the copy paste tool quite frequently. It's just so useful. It's just so useful. I can't help it. I think finally what I do is I add some animation to the sun. I think that's the last thing I do. If I do something else, I don't remember what it was. Which, to be clear, I've remembered maybe half of what happened in this drawing anyways, so who knows. But yeah, I add some animation to the sun here to kind of make it look like it's kind of like glowing or something. Or I guess providing light. I don't know, does the sun glow or does it just provide light? I feel like it's too strong for it to be considered glowing. But yeah, some pretty basic animation here. Just some things shooting off the sides and that kind of ordeal. And yes, I think that might be it. So now we're going to take a quick look at, oh my goodness.